I'd like us to go straight to our sharing today. I'll ask Stephanie Chebet from Faith and the City Mombasa, if you're here, you kindly introduce the speaker for us and pray, and then we'll move right to our session now, managing workplace dynamic as a Christian.
Thank you, Victor. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Joyce Kaduki. In a snapshot, I have interacted with just a little bit when we were doing our strategic plan as an organization, that is EPTF, which is a ministry of the navigators. So allow me to read or to introduce Joyce Kaduki. Joyce Kaduki is passionate about working with leaders. She's a certified coach, speaker, facilitator, and a trainer, and a strategic consultant. She has a background in finance, accounting, administration, operations, strategy, and human resource. Joyce has over 15 years working experience with both NGO and non-profit organizations. She transitioned to work full-time, building leadership capacity in individuals, that is, teams and organizations, and consulting. Joyce has developed and implemented leadership and strategy solutions for several organizations, including Strathmore University, Compassion International, the Navigators, EPTF, Kenya Trust, and many others. Joyce has also coached leaders in Africa, Europe, and in the Middle East, ranging from business owners to middle-level managers and C-suite executives. Joyce is a director of Primo Strategy Limited and founding partner of the John Maxwell team and Swiss Leaders Group. She's currently serving on the board, of the Christian Mission Aid and as a member of the President's Advisory Council of the John Maxwell team. She is the author of a book, Leadership is a Marathon. Joyce is married to Ken Kaduki, and they have 2 children, Denda and Waigumo. Ladies and gentlemen, this is just a snapshot of who Joyce is, and I would want to pray for her and even just to pray for the whole team. Let's pray. Our God and our Father, in the name of Jesus, just as Uncle Zach had prayed that you would bless this session, Lord, indeed we continue to pray that too, oh God, even for Joyce, that Father, you'd give her clarity of speech, and even you'd help each and every one of us, Lord, to listen in and even listen from you, oh God. Would you give us expectant hearts, oh God, even as we think about ministering in the marketplace, Lord, would you open our minds, would you open our hearts, would you minister to us? Lord, I pray that you do also give us good internet, good connection, so that we would not miss what you have prepared for us. So Lord, would you use Joyce for your kingdom and for your glory? In Jesus' name, I pray. Amen. Karibu sana Joyce, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Stephanie, and thank you, Victor, and also thank you, Zach, for the prayer. I am delighted, both humbled and honored to be among friends. And I say that because I notice on this forum, among the participants, there are many who are my friends and who are our family friends. I look forward to sharing what the Lord led me to prepare in terms of managing workplace dynamics based on the brief that Victor gave me for this session. So we will be talking about managing workplace dynamics. And I would like to start this session by asking the questions, because I know we have come to this session with expectations, and each person's expectations will be different from the other person's. If you could please share in the chat box, what is one thing, maybe you can highlight one thing that you're hoping to take away from this session? And I would request Victor to help me in terms of reading out some of the expectations that different ones of us are typing we are hoping to take away from this session. And I'm asking this so that by the end of our session, if what you were expecting to get, you do not get it, then you can raise a question that specifically addresses that what your expectation is. So kindly share.
Balancing ministry and work, Mark in Ethiopia. How to witness in a secular workplace, Angela. Connecting effectively with different personalities, Tomo. Work-life balance, is there such a thing, from Richard?
Okay.
Developing emerging leaders with grace. Joshua says being the influencer in the marketplace. Catherine says office politics and balance.
Thank you very much. You can still type in if your expectations are not, someone else has not yet typed in something relates to what you want to find out, even as I continue. Now, based on the script, on the briefing that Victor gave me, I have structured this presentation in 3 parts. I have an introduction, and then there are 3 keys I will share to managing workplace dynamics. And the last section is about your turn to act. In the prayer that Zach gave, he talked about, I'm going to apply. So we do the learning here, and there are thoughts that will be triggered even as we have this conversation. And the purpose of this, of course, is then to go and apply so that we can be better representatives of Christ in the workplace, whether we are running our own businesses or employed, wherever it is. And again, this may be away from home or working at home, it really doesn't matter. And even for the students, wherever you are, that you may be more effective in what you're doing, even as the Lord uses you. Let's start with the introduction. Now, whether your office looks like this picture on the left here, or the picture at the bottom, or even the picture on the right, or something very different, it really doesn't matter. Whatever your office looks like, as a believer, the important thing to remember is that you're a believer in the world, but not of the world. What does that mean? Being in the world means that there will be competition for resources, competition for jobs, competition to get ahead, competition for promotion. There will also be pressure to perform. Of course, if you're employed, there's a job that you're supposed to deliver on. If you're in your own business, there are products and services that you're delivering, and you do not want to deliver them at a loss, which will drive you out of business. So that pressure to perform is there. There will be office politics that has already been mentioned. There will be relating to authority. There's your boss, whether your boss is, whether the authority that we are talking about is a boss who is your manager, or they are the government authorities. There are certain requirements that we need to submit to as far as government is concerned, but there's someone that you're answerable to, or even a board of advisors or directors that you're working with. So there's relating to that authority. And sometimes you will agree with me that where there's office politics, there's still relating with authority, there's competition. Sometimes the rules of the game are not very fair. Many people out there are not Christians. And even when we are dealing with Christians, the human side of people sometimes tends to show up, and you get to see the ugly side, which gets in the way. And I'd like to pause here and ask, what other things would you say are real for you, even as you think of yourself in your workplace and being in the world? Now, in addition to what I have mentioned, the few that I have mentioned, please share in the chat box. And Victor, kindly read out for me as they come in.
Corruption, all the way from Philippines. Corruption, immoral behavior, manipulation, relating with others, issues of integrity. That's from Kelelo in South Africa. Emotional intelligence, all the way from Angola. Favorism to friend, nepotism, enemies, witchcraft, opportunity not presenting itself.
In the interest of time, please allow me to continue. But even as you read out those, and thank you very much for those who have shared, it's interesting to note that the issues that are real with people who are working in Kenya are the same ones in Angola. There's the same ones in the Philippines, in South Africa. It really doesn't matter which part of the world is. When you're in the world, there are certain issues that come, they are part of the package. And now the interesting thing is, okay, not the interesting thing is, but for us as Christians or as believers, the important thing is, even as we are dealing with all of these issues, the big circle and the big thing that needs to come out is that we need to continue being witnesses for Christ in those workplaces, and that we need to come out as people of excellence. And the question that I have for us is, how should you, as a believer, handle all of these things, the corruption, the nepotism, the immoral behavior? How should you relate with that, and how do you carry yourself so that you stand out and do not become a part of the world? So you remain in the world, but you're not, your thoughts and your behaviors are definitely different from what you see around. And my answer to that, and which is our point of reference for this session, is that what will be our guiding and our point of reference is the Bible. And I just picked a few verses, Colossians 3:23, which I know Momo in his session already is one of those verses that he referenced, that whatever you do, work at it with all your heart. So sometimes there will be questions of, why are you giving more, why are you trying to outperform everyone else? But knowing that you're there to serve God, not human beings, will make a difference. Early on in my career, one of my mentors, I would refer to them, I hadn't requested them to work as my mentor, but I used to look at them as a mentor person, told me is, you're working for God in company XYZ. So seeing yourself as someone who is, you're there, put there by God. And so serving God really becomes key. In Psalm 20 verse 7 is the issue of trusting in God, because there will be the temptation to, and we do know there are people in the workplace who are doing this, looking up to a father figure, or looking up to a big uncle or a career sponsor. I don't know whether in other parts apart from Kenya, this seems to be a big thing with people nowadays. I have had a lot of it in the recent past, where you're relying on a career sponsor to help you get that promotion, but realizing that all of that may be happening in the workplace, but at the end of the day, what will count is not the chariots or the horses or the connections, but it's trusting in the Lord, of course, even as we deliver as Christians. And then there's Psalm 75 verses 6-7, where we are reminded that promotion comes from the Lord, not from the east, not from the west, not from the south, but it is the Lord who judges, and it is the Lord who will promote you. So whether they are politics, whether they are unfair practices, when you do your part, then you can always rely on the Lord to fight for you. So that is the introduction. Let's now move on to the second part of this. This is looking at 3 keys for managing workplace dynamics. Now, I picked out words which start with the letter L to make it easier for us to remember. And there's need to be legit, to be the real deal. There's need to be a leader, and there's a need to be a learner. And as I continue, should you have questions related to what I'm sharing, feel free to share in the chat so that when we come to the Q&A section, then we will address those questions. Let's look at each of those three keys in a bit more details. And the first one is about being legit, being legitimate. It's a term a lot of the young people use, but I do believe that we are familiar with it. And here I will look at two issues. There's an issue of character and there's an issue of competence as a believer. I'd like to start by introducing us, as even as we look at the issue of character, to a lady that I refer to as Madam Brenda. Now, Madam Brenda is a lady who was born in Zambia, where she also went to school. And the first job that she got after graduating from university was that of a teacher. With time, I think this was after about 2 years, then she left the teaching profession and started working as a police officer, following in the footsteps of her father, who was a police officer. With time, she was promoted and took up roles of police spokesperson and police commissioner. At one time, she was also working as a part-time radio presenter for 2 Christian radio stations in Zambia. And that's because Madam Brenda was a Christian. She was also a wife, a mother. She was a women's advocate. At one time, UNICEF appointed her as ambassador for the promotion of education of girls. And the distinguishing factor about Madam Brenda as she continued working was her faith, her faith in the Lord. And this is what set her apart. And this again is what earned her promotion after promotion after promotion. And those who already have recognized the lady that I'm talking about would, well, of course, do know that I'm talking about Her Excellency Madam Brenda Muntemba, who, after serving as a police commissioner, was finally appointed as the High Commissioner for Zambia to Kenya. And so she became a career diplomat. Interestingly, even as a full-time career diplomat, she was a singer. So she made time for her talent, and she recorded a number of songs. She was also an author. She wrote 4 motivational books, and she was an ordained pastor. And she would go to a number of churches. I know she came to my church and preached with her pastor, with her husband. And she also found time to go around universities. At one time, I know she was at Kenyatta University in Kenya. She was at Strathmore University, motivating students. And she really interacted with people at a very personal level. I got the opportunity to meet Her Excellency Madam Brenda in September of 2018. And something that really struck me about Madam Brenda was her humility and her sense of duty. I mean, even as she talked, you could tell that this is a person who really did carry herself as a diplomat, but she was also very relatable. And in fact, it's after that meeting that I really started following her story, and was very, very impressed by the way her Christian witness, even as she did everything else that she did, clearly stood out. Now, sadly, Madam Brenda was involved in a serious road accident in February of last year. And 3 weeks later, she succumbed to her injuries and died. During the memorial service, for those who attended, both in Kenya and when the body was taken back to Zambia for burial, and even online, there were so many accounts of people whose lives Madam Brenda had touched. And there were accounts of how she really lived out her faith. And so as I was putting this presentation together, I thought about a character that I would say, lived out her Christian faith and was legit in her character. It's Madam Brenda. And seeing the fact that she rose from the level of a teacher, went on to be a police, finally to serve as a diplomat, representing her country to Kenya, was for me a big thing. So that is in terms of character. Let's talk about competence. Those who have been following news around the presidency of the Africa Development Bank this year would be familiar with what this gentleman, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, Nigerian, has been going through. And I like a quote that I picked out from Dr. Adesina, attributed to Dr. Adesina. Like the hidden potential of rough diamonds, we must work to fully unlock Africa's potential. Africa must sparkle. Now, Dr. Adesina just finished his first term as the president of the Africa Development Bank, and he was putting himself up for re-election as a president. He has been big on reforms at the bank, and also in really promoting the interest of Africans, not just within, but even in international forums. And those of you who have followed this story would know that over the course of the last several months, there have been accusations of Dr. Adesina not conducting himself with integrity. There have been accusations of misconduct within the bank, again attributed to Dr. Adesina, and there were investigations which were carried out earlier as a few months ago, and he was cleared of those allegations. But later, the US, who are the largest shareholders outside of Africa, of the Africa Development Bank, said that they wanted another investigation, an independent investigation, to be carried out into the misconduct of Dr. Adesina. And several weeks ago, Dr. Adesina was cleared of those allegations, even by that second independent team. And just yesterday, Dr. Adesina was re-elected unanimous, well, yeah, because he's the only candidate who was who had put himself up for elections as the president for this term. He was re-elected as the president of the Africa Development Bank Group. And in his speech, there's something that I picked out, the quote which I have put there at the bottom. I will request Victor to please read it out for us.
Okay, it says, I do it to serve Africa and our bank in an unbiased way to the best of the abilities that God has given me.
Thank you, Victor. Now, Dr. Adesina, I got to learn during this time that investigations were going on that he's a Christian. A number of years, some years ago, he lived in Kenya when he, in the early years of his term as president of the Africa Development Bank. And he and his wife, Grace, were involved in the high schools ministry in Kenya. So they would go around high schools sharing the gospel. And at the time that the investigation was being carried out, in both of those two WhatsApp groups that I am a part of, there were Christians who were praying for him, well, praying for him, of course, praying that he would be, praying for the Lord's will to be done, but also for favor. And even as I have thought about Dr. Adesina and his work and what has been carried in the media, what stood out for me is that it's his competence which stood out for him. Had he been a person had he been corrupt, as had been alleged, then he would not have his name would not have been cleared. So again, I thought this is someone we can learn from, because again, with the Africa Development Bank, there's your competence that comes into question, but there's also a lot of politics, and it's both internal politics and external politics. And so even as we think about ourselves as believers, wherever it is that we are working, allowing our character, our faith in God, and also our competence to speak for us is very, very important. And when I thought about characters, Bible characters that we can learn from, because there are examples of men and women in the Bible who carried themselves, who are legit, they were the real deal, and carried themselves in a manner that honored the Lord. I just picked two, because in the interest of time, we cannot look at too many. And I thought about Daniel. Daniel, of course, you would know, at one time when he was an administrator, and he was being considered for an even higher position that he was serving, and the only issue those who are serving with him and his detractors could find with him was that he would not compromise his faith in the Lord. And that is what led him, of course, we know the story, being thrown into the lion's den. And of course, as we know, his story ended up well in Daniel being saved from being devoured by the lions. And in all of this, the Lord was glorified, because for David, his faith in the Lord and his competence, really serving with excellence, being above board, really carried the day. I took another example, that of Joseph. Joseph, as you followed his story from the time that he was sold into slavery, served in Potiphar's household, and then after that was even thrown into prison. In all of this, the different phases of Joseph's life, again, his faith in the Lord is what kept him going, and it is what finally carried the day for him, to the extent that even when Pharaoh had the dream and needed an interpreter, the Lord used Joseph to interpret that, and so he was appointed second in command, second only to Pharaoh. And so those are stories of those two are men, but of men who carried themselves in a way that both their faith and their competence, because again, if you're in a workplace and you're strong on faith, but you do not deliver on your job description or what you have been employed to do, then of course you will be. It means that you will not be. You will be found wanting. But those two distinguished themselves in their service for the Lord. So we have talked about the first key as being legit. So character and competence. Let's look at the second key, and this is you need to be a leader. This is to manage the dynamics of the workplace. What exactly does this mean? I picked on two items, and this is the first one is to think like a leader, and the second one is to have a tool belt of skills, and this referring to leadership skills. Let's consider the first one, thinking like a leader. A few years ago, I was in Lusaka, Zambia. On it was a work assignment that I had gone to do, and I met two gentlemen. Let's give them the names Joe and Mike. Now, both Joe and Mike worked as drivers in the different organizations where they were working. One of them picked me from the airport, took me to the hotel. The other one picked me from the hotel and took me to the office. Now, both Joe and Mike did their, as far as their jobs as drivers were concerned, they did their jobs well. They picked me up in time. They were friendly, they were respectful, and they obeyed traffic rules as we drove to the different places. But there's something I noticed between Joe and Mike. Now, Mike, the one that I want to highlight, over and above being a good driver and being respectful and getting me to the place that he needed to get to me safely, really struck me in the way that that I related with him in the few minutes that were in the car. First, he was really informed. When I told him that I was coming in from Kenya, he seemed to have done his homework. In fact, later I realized he possibly had been told that the person that he's going to pick was from Kenya, so he knew about what had been in the big news in Kenya that week, and he said, "Oh, I heard that yeah, this and the other was happening," and then. At one time we passed a building, and he told me about the big bank which had their offices there, and he talked about it and talked about the economy as in respect of what that bank was doing. And then he also talked about the politics of the day and what was happening. And what struck me as Mike told all these stories is that he was really, really informed. I mean, as a driver, he did not need to know all this. He did not need to know about Kenya and what was going on. He did not, did not need to know, in the sense that that was not a requirement for his getting the clients to wherever he needed to drop them safely and in good time. But he was proactive and went over and above his job as a driver to keep himself informed. And when I thought about these two gentlemen, Joe and Mike, on the left, in the first column, I have having a manager mindset. And I put this together saying there's none that is more important than the other. Both of them are important, because when you think about it, having a manager mindset where you're thinking about maintaining status quo, you're thinking about obeying or following the policies and procedures in your organization, whether you're doing that as an employee or if you're running your own organization, then of course you're the role model in terms of following the policies and procedures, and also having systems and processes in place. There's a certain way that things need to be done, because in the absence of that, then you will have chaos and things will not get done. Being a problem solver, and I'm just picking a few of these, and having a focus on today, what needs to be done, and making sure that it is done. So that is very, very important to be able to win in today's work and any workplace. Being able to really be successful in the workplace. So all of that is important. Or in addition, then having a leader mindset like Mike had is what will set you apart. Now, Mike was keeping himself informed of what was going on in his country, in the economy, and also beyond the borders. And this is what will help you think beyond today, where you're also thinking about tomorrow. Maybe Mike was already eyeing a promotion. He was doing his job well as a driver, but he was thinking, I don't want to be a driver all my life. I am aspiring to be whatever job it is that he was aspiring to, and realizing that because of the other job that he wanted, then he needed to develop himself. He needed to keep himself informed. Maybe he wanted to work in a different sector. And because of that, he kept himself abreast of what was happening in the economy, being proactive, and also going beyond problem solving to being an innovator, where you're saying, okay, this is what we have been doing, these are our products and services, and this is the way that we have been doing our work. But in order to set ourselves up for success, not just for today, but also for tomorrow, then we need to think beyond our successes for today and come up with better solutions, come up with better improved products and services. And so it really is important to think like a leader, being the person who, when you're working together as a team, you're saying, yes, we are delivering this as a team, but then how about doing things differently? And you're the person who shares ideas and are always prompting your colleagues or even your boss. How about what if we tried a different approach? Or when you're given an assignment, you take different approaches to solving the problems that you face on a day-to-day. And so you're having the mindset of a leader over and above being a manager. And I think that is key and will help you set yourself apart in the workplace. So that is in terms of being a leader. I want to pause here and maybe ask from some ideas that are being triggered, maybe some thoughts that have come to your mind. If you could share in the chat something maybe that you're being challenged to try out in the workplace, and I will request Victor to read that for us.
One from Jacinta says, what's the difference between fighting battles and fighting wars? And then Maina Moriuki asks, how can tasks be done more efficiently? Yes. How can tasks be done more efficiently? How about combining some aspects of a manager with those of a leader?
Yeah, thank you very much. Let me, so the first one, about the difference between fighting a battle and fighting a war. Now, the battle is current. It's what. Let me give an example. If you're being accused of something that you know you have, of some wrongdoing which you know you're not guilty of. And in that conversation now, whoever let's say it's your boss that is bringing that up, they also start piling up other maybe drawing things from the past that had already been settled. Now, when you're thinking about winning a battle, is that you will really come out strongly to clear your name. And in clearing your name, sometimes you might even antagonize, like if it's your boss. So it causes even more friction in trying to clear your name. And I'm not saying that you should not do that. By all means, that you should, but if it gets to the extent that that is making things it makes things ugly. There are sometimes you will decide, especially if it's a case, it's not a situation where it costs you your job. There are sometimes you decide, let me not argue. I know my track record will speak for me over the long term, and later it even turns out that it's true. Whatever you are being accused of, you actually had not done the wrongdoing. So fighting a battle is where you really want to be you want to come out. You want to come out as the one winning in that set of situation. But then when you think about winning a war, you're thinking long term, where things may not work your way, but you know there's always tomorrow. And even if they don't work in your favor today, then over the long term, your track record, your integrity, and your competence will speak for you. And then the next question from Maina, kindly remind me.
Yeah, there are quite a number of thoughts
Okay.
coming through. Yeah. from Patrick Karanja, how does following rules and keeping the status quo limit someone in terms of leadership?
In following rules, I think, okay, it's more of maintaining the status quo that stops it, because you may have had, well, in some workplaces where you go and if you bring a new idea, someone who's been working there for 5-10 years tells you, oh, we have always done things in a certain way. And so they're sticking to the status quo. Let me take an example. If, for example, if you're working in accounts, and in the past, payments have always been done through writing checks, and so that is a system that is already in place. So if you're paying your suppliers, then you write checks, and then you come into that situation, and depending on the amounts that are being handled, as the new accountant, you suggest, instead of writing checks for all the transactions, why don't we, for some of the bigger amounts, why don't we make bank transfers? Because when you have a bank-to-bank transfer, then there's no issue of maybe a check getting lost in transit, whether it's being delivered or it's being picked. And so you float that as an idea of improving the systems. Now, for someone who has the manager mindset, and again, like I said, there's nothing wrong with that in continuing to make payments through the checks. But if making the bank-to-bank transfers will make the work and reduce the risks, then by all means, what you're doing now here is challenging that status quo, that this has always worked. Let's break the rules and do things a bit differently in a way that is more efficient. Maybe it takes a shorter time, but also reduces the risk. Let's talk up. So the first, we've talked about having a leader's mindset, and the next one is about having a tool belt of leadership skills. Now, what I would say is that there, and I did this intentionally. I know there are different lists that people share, that these are top leadership skills. In fact, as I prepare this, I just did a Google search, top leadership skills and best leadership skills, and I got millions of such results. So depending on whether you're looking at a Harvard Business Review list or the World Economic Forum, I've seen several lists that shared on WhatsApp attributed to the World Economic Forum, or the Center for Creative Leadership, John Maxwell team, which I'm a part of. So there are different lists. Different organizations have. Forbes also will have their different writers will have the top or some leadership skills which they say to succeed. These are the skills that you need. But I thought about all those different lists. But then as we have in this situation, the COVID-19 situation, one of the things that has become very clear, even those lists, some of those which we were being told for the fourth industrial revolution, these are the skills for the future. This is what you will need, and there are a number of them that are given. Now, some of them have been made quickly redundant by COVID-19. And so what I would say is when you look at the Bible, and I say this again, knowing that there are many different lists I have looked at over time, there are a number of leadership books I have read being in the leadership space. And what I would say is, for me, the Bible carries the day, because when you look at the different leadership books, when you look at different articles that are written on leadership, you can always trace that to something that is in the Bible. And so equipping yourself with as many as you're able to in the Bible is what will help you handle many different types of situations. And we do not have time to look at all this. If I may just pick a few, when you think about communication, now Jesus at different times used different types of communication skills. When he was speaking to the lady who had been accused of adultery, and she was going to be stoned, the sort of communication that he used in that scenario was very different when he was chasing the traders from the temple. It was very different from the communication skills that he applied when he was brought before Pilate and those that were trying him. So different types of communication skills will help you as you, again, when you bring that to an office situation, when you're talking with a boss who is angry about something that has not been done, the type of communication you will, the type of communication skill you will apply will be very different from where you are communicating with a peer who is trying to bully you. It will be very different from the type of communication skill that you will need to apply when you're communicating with someone on your team, someone who you're supervising, who has lost a family member, and even though they have not delivered on their job, maybe there's something that is outstanding. There's a way that you will communicate with them while their emotions are raw and they are telling you that they have lost a family member. Even as you look forward to holding them accountable tomorrow, when they have been able to deal with the loss, the skill that you will apply will be very different. Let's pick another one on listening. In Proverbs 18:13, he who answers before listening. Again, no, the Bible talks about that you being a fool because you're not exercising. You're not exercising the skill of leadership in that situation, the listening skill, being teachable. The Proverbs is full of verses about wisdom and knowledge and being open to learning. When you think about vision, Abraham, when he was asked by God to go to a foreign country that was new to him, he did not question, but he obeyed. And this was because he was able to see ahead and see that God was calling him to a better future, and he believed in God. So as many of these leadership skills as you can equip yourself with, you'll be able to apply them in the many different types of situations. And like I said, this is not even it's not even an exhaustive list. There are so many skills that you can equip yourself with to be able to handle the different types of situations that you will find in the workplace. So we have talked about being legit, being legitimate in terms of character and competency. We have talked about leadership, the leadership skills, so having a leader's mindset, and also equipping yourself, having different types of skills so that the different workplace situations that you have to apply the different skills, then you can, if it's a hammer you need at one time, or a screwdriver, and I'm using this figuratively, you'll be able to pull out those skills as and when you need them. So the third key is about being a learner. So having the learning mindset. And we are familiar with this quote that says, the greatest leaders are learners. And what I want to do is to make a switch here. We watch a short clip. This is a clip of Craig Groeschel, the pastor. I'm sure a number of us are familiar with him. He's a pastor in the US, and this is when he was making a presentation at the 2018 Global Leadership Summit. And let's listen to a few remarks that he made at that summit.
Our world needs strong, consistent, bold, courageous, integrity-infused leaders. People are longing for leaders who will unite rather than leaders that divide. The world is watching, aching, hoping that someone will stand up when so many others back down. In fact, it was years ago at this very event, and I sat up in a back area and I heard Jim Collins talk about what he called level 5 leadership, level 5 leaders. He said that level 5 leaders have a powerful mixture of profound humility and furious resolve. I love that. Profound humility and furious resolve. Let's talk about humility for just a moment. A humble leader can learn from anyone. Today, I would encourage you to take a very serious posture of humility. In other words, the young can learn from the old can learn from the young. Those who are followers of Christ can learn from those who are not. Those who do not consider them spiritual can learn from those who do. I want to be clear that at every location, no matter where you are in the world, no matter what your spiritual background, you are welcome, you are embraced here. If you are not a follower of Jesus, you are welcome. If you worship for an hour and a half before there is a sermon, you are welcome. If you have 3 hymns and you only sing verse 1, 2, and verse 4 of those 3 hymns. Who knows what's wrong with verse 3? I have no idea, but verse 3 always gets left out. You are welcome even if you do not sing verse 3, and especially if you're even from one of those churches where your worship leader uses too much hair product, has skinny jeans with holes and tattoos everywhere. You too are welcome. Everybody is welcome. I would only ask that we show respect to everyone today. If you don't believe in God, would you simply offer those of us who do the same respect that we would offer you to be exactly where you are on your spiritual journey? Let me just kind of be clear and set the tone. We're going to say some prayers. We're going to sing some songs. And I would just ask that you would be respectful and perhaps even open. And I know with all of my heart that if we respect one another, we can all become better and grow in our leadership. So how about it? Let's devote 2 incredibly power-packed days. If you've never been here before, get ready, because the fire hydrant's about to open and you're gonna drink from the living water of leadership more than you could ever imagine. What will we do as leaders? As leaders, we will lead with profound humility and with furious resolve. We will cast a vision for a brighter future. We will inspire others to do more than they even think is possible. We will strive for excellence, giving our best and demanding the best from others. We will ask for the wisdom to make the difficult calls, and we will apologize whenever we get it wrong. We will confront injustices and we will right wrongs. We will speak up for those who have no voice. We will have the courage to stand up when others back down, and we will get better. Because when the leader gets better, everyone gets better.
When the leader gets better, everyone gets better. As I get back to my slides, please share in the chat box something that you take away from that short presentation, especially as it relates to either leading or learning, because we've just talked about having a leader's mindset, and now we are going to be talking about learning. So please share something that you picked out from there. And Victor, I would request that you read out for me what is being shared.
As a leader, I have to be humble. When a leader gets better, everyone gets better. Leaders lead with profound humility and furious resolve. Be ready to offer apologies. Ask for wisdom to make difficult decisions and apologize when I go wrong. Be open to learn from everyone. Leaders are learners. Times 2, be bold to confront injustices. Humility is key. Strive for excellence. Apologize when you're in the wrong. A humble leader can learn from anyone. We learn from anyone, young, old, different belief, etc.
Thank you very much, Victor. Yes, I particularly like that one, that yes, a leader can learn from anyone. Now, the two questions, the two ideas that I'd like to explore here as far as us learning in the workplace are what do you learn and where do you learn? Now, what is, or what do you need to learn? The first, there are different things that you need to learn. First one is learning about yourself. What are your strengths, your weaknesses, your skills? Because as your awareness of who you are and what you have is raised, then that's when you're able to apply yourself even more in the different work situations. You will know your limitations. You will know what you can take on. You will know how to best use what the Lord has given you. And also, if there are certain skills additional skills that you need to learn, then you will know to go and either take a course or get a mentor or a coach, someone who will help work with you in terms of acquiring the additional skills that you need. But you also need to learn about others. Get to know your team members. If you're supervising a team, get to know your different team members, because even as you get to know them, then you get to know how best to work with them to get the best results from them. Get to know your boss, what works best for with your boss. As you get to learn your boss, that's how you will know how to manage up. Does your boss like verbal reports, or does your boss like an email? Do they like a one-pager? Do they like a detailed report? Because as you get to know them and their temperaments, then you will be better able to work with them. What about your peers? How can you best collaborate with those that you work with? Because you cannot, no man is an island. And as you learn to, as you get to know your peers better, then you're best able to know how you can serve them, because in future, then they'll also make your work easier. Get also to learn about your organization as your business and your business. There's a lady I am coaching right now. She's working with the organization that she's working with, and the role that she is in. She's been in that role for a few years now, and she wants a change within the same organization. So in the last few conversations that we've been having, one of the things that she told me is that she's starting to engage the heads of departments in that organization. As she gets to have these conversations, she will get to know them. She gets to know the openings which are there, and even as she has the conversations, builds relationships, then she'll be able to identify one where she would be happy to serve. So get to know beyond your department and beyond what your team is doing. That will help you even in making suggestions that will improve your organization. And then also get to know the industry trends, again, beyond the organization. What is the latest technology? What is the latest what is coming? What are the different any new regulations that are being passed by the government, which will affect your organization? So getting to know all of that will help you serve in your workplace better. Be the one who shares with your colleagues or with your boss the new developments in your industry or different ways in which you could do your work. So that, and there's a lot more that of course you can add. So this is just a tip of the iceberg, but get to learn about others. And then where do you do the learning? Now, I love the attitudes of kids. If you have spent any amount of time with a 4 or a 5-year-old, they have many questions. They will ask what, they will ask why, they will ask where, and they will keep asking until you, if you're not used to it. I know I have got tired answering the questions of a 4 or a 5-year-old, and they are always questioning, they're experimenting, they're trying out different things, they're opening up things, they're shaking things. Even when they're out in play, they are learning. So learning is everywhere. There's learning you can have in conversations. My icon over here, one of the best learning, the greatest lessons I learned about mentoring was from my grandfather that I visited last year. And in the conversations and in him doing certain things, I got to understand mentoring in a way that I had never understood from my reading and also working with mentors. There's learning in webinar sessions like this. I know many of us have gone through enough learning sessions and could almost write books about the do's and don'ts of webinars and even what we have learned. There are assessments that we have, you can take in our organization. There are certain assessments that we offer both for individuals and also for teams. They are the MOOCs, the massive open online courses with leading universities where you get to learn for free, especially if you're just auditing a course. And if you're not familiar with this, what I would encourage you to do is just to go and do a search on the internet, MOOCs, MOOCs. There's a lot of learning now on LinkedIn, and some of the courses are offered for free. And what I want to do is to pause and request if different ones of us can share other forums, especially those that we have been taking advantage of or utilizing during this COVID situation, this season. Let me call it a season. Please share in the chat some forums which other participants can get to know about and even take advantage of. And Victor, I request that you read out for me.
YouTube. Mm-hmm. That's the University of YouTube right there. Mm-hmm. Skillshare. Mm-hmm. Udemy. Fuzu. Rightnowmedia.org. Coursera. edx.org, Acumen, Life Church Leadership Podcast, quite a number of resources there. Acumen, discipleshiplibrary.org.
Thank you very much. Yeah, and I know we haven't even exhausted, and this point is connected with the last one about what to learn, because especially to be able to take advantage of these resources, and of course the others would be if you belong to a professional association, then there would be learning which is promoted by that association that you belong to, or even published journals, their books. So there's no limit to where you can learn. There's just so much. And so the connection between this and what we had looked at is, as you get to know yourself and maybe additional skills that you need, that is what will help you zero down on where you're going to get your learning. Because if you identify whatever it is that you identify, you want to grow, the skills that you want to acquire, that is what will then help you zero down on the best forum through which you can acquire that learning. And for me, the best learning is again this ties to where we started off talking about the Bible, where as believers in the workplace, we are in the world, but not of the world. And the best learning is that which comes from the Bible. Some of the learnings offered by some of these institutions, some of it becomes redundant very quickly in a COVID-19 sort of situation. Now the Bible has many verses about learning. So I just took out a few, and I won't even read all of them. Proverbs chapter 1, verse 5, let the wise hear and increase in learning. So we do need to increase in learning. And the one who understands, obtain guidance. And then in Daniel chapter 1, verse 17, to these four men, of course, the four men being referred to there, it's Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. God gave knowledge and understanding of all kinds of literature and learning. And then in addition, Daniel could understand visions and dreams of all kinds. And 2 Timothy, that all scripture is God-breathed and useful for teaching, rebuking, correcting, training in righteousness, so that the servant of God may be thoroughly equipped. And I like that, thoroughly equipped for every good work. And this is all scripture. And then the last one, Philippians 4:9, and this verse ties up with the prayer which our brother Zach gave at the beginning of our session. He talked about our learning and then going to apply, because gaining knowledge and gaining all the learning, it's one thing, but then being able to apply is quite another. We are doing the learning so that we can go and apply what we have learned and be better workers wherever it is that God has placed us. And this takes me to when you're able to apply, it brings me to the story of a lady who, to me, is an example of someone I would say has been able to use what God has given her and to apply in this COVID situation. This is Mama Mboga. Now, for the non-Kenyans, Mama Mboga is a vegetable seller. So this lady in Trans Nzoia, which is somewhere near the border of Kenya and Uganda, she was a vegetable seller before the coronavirus pandemic hit. And then after it hit, then her business was negatively affected, and she did not have, so her business collapsed. Now, her husband happened to be a border rider. These are motorbike riders who transport both the goods and also people for money. And as she did her vegetable business, she used to tinker with her husband's motorcycle. So she would repair it, and in the process, she got to know how to do the repairs. And so when her business went down, she was very quickly able to now start doing motorbike repairs. And she set up a repair and spares shop. And she was now she not only was repairing her husband's motorcycle, but she started repairing now the borders for all the other riders. And this news item, which was on Citizen TV, one of the leading in Kenya, according to that news item, this lady said that since getting into this business of repairing motorbikes, she's making even more money than she was making when she was doing her vegetable business. So she has applied her learnings. And as she did her vegetable business, she was able to get skills which at that time, her fellow vegetable sellers were wondering, why is she getting into a man's business? But those are the skills that have helped her continue to earn a living and to continue to support her family. So I don't know what you have in your hands, and I know our time is spent, and I'm getting I'm getting to a close, but I also want to refer to a conversation that I had with a gentleman I will call Brian. He's in a leadership program that I'm currently running, and about a week ago he talked about he used to work as a software engineer with a leading tech company, but towards the end of last year, he decided to leave his employment and to go and set up a business in the line of work that he was doing. Now, on the side, he used to do writing, so he used to do technical writing in the area of coding and whatever the software engineer do. Now, since COVID-19 happened, what has happened for Brian is that his business, now the startup that he has started, has been affected. But what he has found is that the work that he used to do on the side, what we call the side hustle or the side gig, when we are talking to the young people, is actually what is now earning him more money. So he's doing now more of the technical writing. And again, what he has been able to do is to use the skills that he has acquired over time. And so, as Moses was asked by God when they were having the conversation of Moses going back to Egypt to lead the Israelites from slavery, it was, what is that in your hands? And Moses had a staff, and that is what God used. Again, there's the story of Hagar, when she was sent away because they were having domestic issues, and she went, and at one time the water that she had ran out, and she put Ishmael somewhere. She was desperate, and now she was seeing, for her, the end had come. But in that moment of desperation, the Bible says that God opened her eyes and she saw a well, which tells me that well was there all that time. But she only saw that well when God opened her eyes. And so my challenge from me to you will be to pray to God, because God is faithful. When you pray and fast, the God that we believe in, and God who has called us to the different workplaces he has put us in, will be faithful to show you what skill you need to develop, or what skill that you already have, which you're not using, but which will be relevant to helping you deliver the products and services that you have been asked to deliver, whether the services are the services of being part of the NAV ministry on staff as navigators, being on the NAV staff, or it's a business that you're running, maybe a consultancy, or you are employed in the government, by the government, or even a private office. So whichever your workplace is, it really doesn't matter. God is with you in that workplace. And as you bring your whole person to work, you're legit in terms of your character, in terms of your competence, what God has given you, and you're asking God, please help me apply myself to the best of my ability, and in a way that brings honor to your name. God is faithful. As you continue applying the leader's mindset, and as you continue to open yourself to learning from the young, from the old, from those who are above you, learning from those who are below you, learning from your peers, learning even from outside of the workplace, then you will be able to serve even in an even better way. And this leads me to the last slide, where the last part of this is the call to action, where I have said many things in the several minutes, in the many minutes that I have been talking. But what does this mean for you in where you're working? what are you going to act on? And ACT is an acronym. The A is, what are you going to apply? Maybe it is something that I said, or it may be something I said which triggered an idea in your mind, and you realize I was not doing this. This is now in my awareness, or is a new idea. I'm going to apply it. Or something that you're going to change. There's a way that you are doing your work, and you realize you could do it differently so that you can be even more effective in your work. So something that you're going to change, if you can identify that. And then something that you're going to teach or to transfer to others. In the pyramid of learning, the most the most effective way of retaining what you have learned is by transferring that, or by teaching someone else what you have learned. So if there's something that you have had this afternoon that you realize, it could make a difference in someone else's life, or you want to remember it and look for ways of applying it, please go and share it with someone else. And this is also going to be what we are going to cover in our groups when we go into the breakout sessions. If at the individual level, if first you can take a few minutes identifying at least one thing, if you can get, no, don't take too many, but just take 2 things that you're going to apply, 2 things that you're going to change, and then 2 things that you're going to teach or transfer to others. And then you share that around the group. So I want to pause here, even as I put on the last slide, which is a highlight of some of the programs that we offer in our organizations. If you're interested in any of this, and I will share these slides with Victor to share with the group, there's an email address. You can always reach out to us, and we'll be more than happy to share the details. And if there's a way that we can partner in helping you continue to grow as a more effective worker, whether you're employed or whether you're running your own organization, we'll be happy to do that. So I want to now hand over to Victor to please take us through any Q&A that we cover before we go to our breakout sessions.
All right. Thank you very much, Joyce, for your wonderful presentation about managing workplace dynamics. We will, in the interest of time, we will take 2 questions. I know what was posted on the chat while we were doing the Q&A earlier is more than 2 questions, but kindly allow us to just take 2 questions. Conversation will go on so that we can get enough time to go to our breakout sessions and process. So if I'll ask Amy Mwatela, co-host, if you could kindly read for us the 2 questions that Joyce can quickly address before we transition into our breakout groups.
Thanks, Victor. Patrick asks, how does following rules and keeping the status quo limit someone in terms of leadership?
It is important to, of course, follow the rules, the procedures, the policies, and also follow systems, because there's some different workplaces. If you do not follow their systems, then that will cost the organization, either in there being a hazard, or the organization loses. Maybe will be fraud. So it's important to follow that. In addition, when you have a leader's mindset, is to then explore different ways of doing the same work, but in a more efficient way. So you're bringing some certain element of innovation, or just a better, if it's going to save your organization time or money or other resources, then you apply that.
Okay. And then Joy asks, how does one present their opinion of improvement without appearing to be too kimbelembele? I don't know the English translation of kimbelembele.
Yes, thank you. So for the non-Kenyans, it's presenting your idea without, okay, I'm also struggling with that word.
Know it all.
Oh, know it all. Thank you. Thank you, Steph. That's Stephanie. Thank you. Yes, the know it all. You take on, and of course, now you will, and this is something I believe that you also cultivate over time, where as you relate with your colleagues, then you don't be the person who shoots down other people's ideas. When others have shared something, be the one who applauds them or saying, yeah, that's a good idea. Because then when you establish yourself as the person who also acknowledges what other people are sharing, then when you share your idea, it's going to be easier for people to listen to you. So you're not the posture that you take is not one of I'm the only one who knows, or I'm the answer man, but you're floating it as one of the ideas to be considered. And again, even when you go back to communication, one of the things and I said this, like one of the conversations we used to have with our children when they were younger, especially when they were learning about communicating, is we'd tell them that what you say is important, but even how you say it. So it's not just what you say, but how you say it really matters. And so in the workplace, I would also say the same thing. How you communicate whatever you're communicating, it says a lot and will make a big difference in terms of how well or not your idea will be received and acted on by your colleagues or by your boss or even by other your business partners or your business other service providers that you're working with. I hope I have shed some light yeah, in that. Thank you, Amy.
All right, thank you, Joyce, for the presentation. We will now go into our breakout rooms, and just a few clarification. So you remember the 3 questions. What 2 lessons have you picked up tonight? What 2 things are you going to change as you deal with workplace dynamics? Then what 2 things are you going to share